Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to part 3 of my View 31 build log. This one's going to be a bit shorter than the previous two, but as you can see, I've made quite a bit of progress since part 2. Namely, I got the case mods completed and the entire loop has been installed. So I've still got some work to do, but before I get the panels and everything in, I wanted to show you guys sort of the arrangement for the loop that I installed, the fittings and that sort of thing. So I guess we'll just kind of dive right into it here. And first, let's briefly sort of talk about these panels that are in here. I had mentioned in the previous build log that I was planning to install some panels to sort of clean up the inside of the case. I've done this in previous builds. It's actually very easy to do with some acrylic, some heavy-duty mounting tape, and just some vinyl. Now you can paint or spray paint the acrylic, but I prefer to use vinyl because, for one, you don't have to wait for it to dry, you don't have to wait for the right temperatures, you don't have to have a place to paint. You just put it on. I always do a wet application and you end up with essentially a perfect finish, and it's easy to get vinyl. You can order it off Amazon and typically comes in 1 or 2 days, and then obviously you have all kinds of different options to choose from. And in here I went with this sort of gunmetal metallic finish, which when the full build is completed and you see what I end up doing with lighting and whatnot, I think it's going to work out really well. But yeah, and then I just little secret is I just use mounting tape. I just keep this stuff handy here. Just, what is it, Scotch mounting tape, and this stuff is extremely strong. I just cut little pieces off, and like for instance this, let's see this focus here, this bottom piece here, there's only like 4 little things holding this on, and if I were to try to peel this off, it would be extremely hard. So you don't have to worry about screwing anything in. I did have to cut out a section of the case here for a new hole to route my 24-pin cables through. This way I can get a nice perfect arch. You'll see that when the build's completed. And then at the top here, you can see I've got a fill port. Let me pull this filter off here. But I went ahead and cut out a section of the case up here, installed a panel. This one I screwed on. And then I use this. This is actually kind of a tinted clear acrylic. I did this for a couple reasons. One, I wanted to install a panel up here that I could put a pass-through fitting in and have a fill port, and then also it serves as a nice spot. You know, prior to installing this, I could fit my hand down in here and access some of the stuff up here, so it did make installation for certain things a little bit easier. But essentially the way the loop is going is I've got a D5. This is a Bits Power top, mod top, the D5 mod, the conversion to do a direct mount to the reservoir. It's a Bits Power reservoir. It's got 3 ports at the top, but I've got the out port. It's going to be tough to see, but anyway, it comes out of the pump and into the radiator down here, and I do have a thermal sensor installed down there. I've got, and then into an extension fitting. This is a D plug. This is a, I forget which extension that is, but use your imagination. T fitting. I've got my drain port here at the lowest point of the loop, so it will drain very easily. Then I'm coming up, and I did these runs to sort of match one another, the top and bottom, but I come up and over into the graphics card. I've got that set out. Again, I've got the extension fitting, a 90-degree rotary, so that we get a nice even run here. And then from the graphics card up to the CPU, I used 2 45-degree rotary and just got a nice clean straight shot here. And then similar here, I've got an extension fitting plus a 90-degree or a 45-degree rotary up to a dual rotary into the top rad. And I played around with a couple different configurations how I maybe wanted to do these runs. Ultimately, I settled on keeping it simple. I like the fact that I've got two different skewed angles here because, for one, I like creating depth in the case, and two, on the motherboard, you've got all these different sort of angles that aren't necessarily parallel. So I sort of wanted to carry that design language into the way that some of the tubing routes. This here obviously is not doing that. I actually thought about going down at an angle here, but I wanted to still have a little bit more tubing visible, so ultimately I just decided on this run here. I think it's going to turn out fine. And then I've got dual rotary coming out here into a 90, rotary up into feedback into the reservoir, and then I've got a couple extension fittings in here, and then my pass-through with a kind of one of the fancier little plugs on there. So extremely easy to fill the loop, extremely easy to drain the loop. All the runs are very clean. Now, when you're looking at this, you can see I've got perfect opening here to showcase the custom cables that will be here. The cable that comes off of the graphics card will kind of loop over and around this piece of tubing here. So even though this looks a little empty in here right now, once I get my cabling installed, that's going to fill that space nicely. And then down here in this gap where there is currently nothing, of course cabling is going to route into here, but you won't see that once I get my panels on. But this is where my 5-inch LCD screen is going to go. So I'll have a panel that comes here that is not only going to allow me to clean a little bit of this up, but also have something to mount my lighting to light up this section of the case. I will have a panel that comes down and across here so that I have somewhere to mount the LCD screen, as well as I really want to hide a lot of this in here, plus have something to mount a lighting strip to really showcase the fluid going through the block here. And then I'll probably have a little something up in here to cast a light on to that back there. But really all that's left to do, I do have some stuff cable managed. I'm not going to flip the case around, but I'm not going to get too crazy with custom cabling in this build, at least not right now, because I'm on sort of a time crunch. And that stuff's extremely time consuming. The truth is, this case has a ton of room in the back. I mean, you can cram so much stuff back there. So I'm not going to be cutting down any of these cables and repinning them and getting all the perfect lengths, because it's just not necessary right now when I don't have the time to do it. But there's quite a bit to plug in and hook up with these ring fans. There's a control module that I got to put back there. And then a lot of the cabling that goes up and behind here for the LCD screen you won't really see because of the way everything is oriented. So overall, it's still going to be a very clean build. You will not see any cables in this case other than the 24-pin cable and the 8-pin for the graphics card, which of course I will do custom length and custom sleeve cables for that. But other than that, that's pretty much the gist of it as far as the water cooling loop goes. Tonight I want to get this thing filled and leak tested and rinsed and all that stuff. Make sure there's no problems with that, and then probably get the rest of everything cable managed. I think that I probably have to put it in order to UPC to get some stuff. You know, I've got all kinds of you know, connectors and sleeving and stuff, but I don't think I have enough wire, so I'm probably going to have to order some wire before I can build these cables, unless I can salvage some from a couple previous sets that I'm not using anymore. Just to give you guys kind of a little sneak peek too, this is what the workstation's sort of looking like right now. I've got my moto saw going, which I use to cut my acrylic, both the sheets and the tubing. This thing comes in handy. I highly recommend picking this up, any modder. It's just, there's a lot you can do with it, and it's $100 or less. I think right around $100 on Amazon. But aside from that, yeah, it gets a bit messy around here when I'm trying to get through these builds. Got a new order of some acrylic sheets that I've yet to order up. And yeah, the studio's starting to come together a little bit. I haven't been able to invest a whole lot of time and effort into getting this all nice looking and decorated and organized. Probably will wait until next month, because aside from getting this build completed, which hopefully will be done maybe by this weekend, let's see, today's Thursday, so I don't know, that's maybe a possibility. But then I get to start on this one, so I've got the majority of the components that I need to get the loop installed in here. However, I do need to make one more order to Performance PCs to get some additional fittings and some tubing and that sort of thing. But aside from that, I've got radiators, blocks, pump, all that stuff. So that will come next, and I have to have this and this completed by the next LAN event, which is in 2.5 weeks. So I'm on a little bit of a time crunch. I really don't even have that much time with everything that's going on. So we'll see how it all works out. But other than that, that's going to pretty much do it for this build log. If you guys have any questions, as always, feel free to ask in the comments section. Specifically, if we're sticking to what we talked about in this build log, any questions about any of the components that I've used, or if you have any questions about decisions that I've made as far as why I did things the way I did, I'm always open to comments, suggestions, questions, anything along those lines. But aside from that, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you guys in the next video.